guys, how's it going? So we've got 3 things on the lineup for today. We are going to be planting potatoes and ranunculus, which we're pretty late to be planting ranunculus, but we're going to give it a go anyway. And we're a little bit late on planting potatoes, but that's just the way it has gone this year. But the first thing we're going to do is walk you through what we are going to be doing with this space behind the dream stream and pond. We've got it kind of all thought out in our minds, but we want to start putting paint on the ground because that makes a huge difference. And Aaron just poof disappeared. Where'd he go? He was just standing right here 2 seconds ago. Huh. Well, I'm going to start over here and sort of give you an idea of what's going to happen, because this is kind of where it's going to start. There's our beautiful Centara Pura lilac we planted the other day, looking fantastic. And also this fountain is looking so great. But let's start right here. So you can see the flagstone walkway that comes around the dream stream area and kind of pulls traffic through, but it also brings you this way toward kind of our play central area. So what we're going to be doing first is we're going to be branching off of this walkway about right here to where we've got a flower bed up against the court, because we do plan on putting in a fence, or maybe putting in a fence at some point down the road to contain balls. Like if we do tennis in here or basketball, it's really nice to not have to go chase your balls all over the place. So that is a possible plan, but we want to have a flower bed up next to it either way. That way we can grow vines or evergreens to kind of mask that fence. So the walkway is going to branch off right here, and it's going to go 2 ways. So it's going to come out right here, it's going to branch again, and it's going to go sort of right in here and around this berm. See how it kind of, there's like this natural little indent right here. I know it's kind of hard to tell when there's just all this whiteness and weeds. And it's going to come all the way over and take you out to the lane. Right, Aaron? It's going to take you to the lane, this one?
Yeah.
Okay. So that will be that, and that will give some extra structure to this area. I do think we should add in some big boulders, don't you think? To kind of tie in the whole pond area. What's that?
Like this?
Yeah, like great big ones. And then some smaller ones as well, just so that it looks very cohesive. And same thing for this side. So as we pan this direction, this is what they called a complementary berm, and you can see it through the pond area, and it just makes the whole like scale and shape of this area make sense, so it looks more incorporated again. So we'll probably put some boulders up in here, but the walkway going through this area will be so beautiful. Maybe we could put like a bench right in here. Anyway, so that's that walkway, and our other one will continue on this way, but what I think I want to do is kind of have it do this sort of thing, so it's not just a straight walkway, and I want to cut into this berm and have a little stone wall, and then our walkway that kind of goes in right here, so that we've got a wider flower bed here, we've got a stone wall, just creating more contour, more a height difference, all of that. So it'll kind of come up, well, it won't come up, it'll be lower, but we'll have the rock wall here, and it will come this way. I don't know if you can see my line, I kind of scratched into the soil, and it'll kind of come in a little bit more, and it'll bounce back out, and then it will come back to the court and play area. So this whole area will be a planting bed. And then right in here where you can see a 15-foot PVC pipe, Chad is going to be digging us a big hole, and we're putting in a 15-foot trampoline, just sinking it down in the ground for the kids, just to add to this play area. We just decided this whole space just needs to be play central. Once we get that in, we're going to continue on with grass. So there will be grass around it, so it keeps it cooler than if it was mulch or dirt or gravel. So there'll be grass all the way around it, and we're going to be putting in some big trees, not like malad trees, but some larger B&B trees, probably shade master honey locust, I'm guessing. So maybe like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in this space, creating some shade, especially in the afternoon. So we do have the trampoline here. It's sitting on a pellet out in the dirt lands, and Chad is going to be digging the hole here soon, but we thought we would get out here and get everything marked off today, which might make things shift a little bit, even from what I just showed you, because like I said, putting paint on the ground can really make you visualize things better and make better decisions. So what do you want to do first? Do you want to do the trampoline mark first and then the pathways?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay, the nice thing about this soil is that when you put the paint down, you can erase it real easy because it's just powder. So anyway, we're gonna get after this, and I will walk you back through it when we're all done. Okay, here we go.
That's a big trampoline.
Fit lots of kids on there.
My goodness.
Woo!
Does that not seem like a really large trampoline?
Seems like normal.
I mean, it's a 15-foot circle.
Is that a normal size?
Maybe it's normal. That might be normal.
I don't know, but so the outside, maybe you can explain this better.
Okay, I might be wrong with my number of inches, but essentially you dig like 8 inches down, I think, all the way around. And then you have a shelf that goes out 8 or 9 inches. I'll put a little infographic on the screen of what I'm talking about. And then you dig a concave in the middle. So the middle of it, the very, like right here, you go down 36 inches. And then it kind of just is a concave with a shelf. So it's not like you're burying a full-size trampoline. Mm-hmm. You're actually burying like a 8 or 9 inch trampoline as far as how the legs are.
The legs are 8 or 9 inches?
Yeah, along the sides. And
sure.
then, because you're bouncing in the middle, and when you're bouncing here, you're not going down more than just a couple inches because of how stretchy and buoyancy and all that.
So I haven't seen the infographic yet, but does the grass grow all the way up to this line, or do you need to have some flex there?
Well, I think you probably want grass to go all the way up because you don't want to do pavers or anything like that, something hard, because if a kid falls, you don't want them conking their head on something.
Well, the whole
hard
point
like
of burying the trampoline is to make it a bit safer.
Yeah, because if you fall off the
softer.
trampoline and it's like a 3 foot or whatever, however high they are, yeah, you fall off 3 feet.
Right.
Whereas here, you know, you just fall into the grass or whatever. And I'm assuming that's safer.
So maybe would you mark for me how wide you need the grass to be on this side? Because that will indicate how far out I can bump the walkway.
Oh, yeah. So.
Oh, here, do you need me to hold that? How wide's your mower deck?
It's 60 inches. Is it 60 or is it more than that? It's not 72.
Do you want to go measure
60.
it?
No, it's
sure?
60.
Okay.
It's no more than 5 feet. So it needs to be a like minimum, and you definitely don't want it any smaller than this. I would say like
go wider.
Yeah, go at least 6 feet.
So you're okay doing 2 passes?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So if we do at least this much, that's pretty wide.
The grass?
The flower bed.
Good. Well, if you just make a little dot,
I mean,
then
so
I can have a little bit of an idea. Russell. And then do you want to make a couple dots over here so we know?
Yeah.
Because right here, we're just going to do a ring of grass and the rest of it's going to be flower bed. So if we make a dot here and maybe here from just, the more dots we have, the better for me.
So the grass goes out to
right there.
At least there.
From here, it's easy because we'll have it go up to the walkway.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think that'd be good.
That makes sense. Actually, and then right over here, can we get a little dot? Right here. Perfect. Okay, well that gives me an idea. So you can see that little red dot, hopefully right there and right here. That means I can bring our walkway out further because I had it in quite a ways, but we would rather have a wider, deeper flower bed so we can have more plant options for this area. Oh, I'm excited, Erin. The kids are going to flip.
Oh, they'll love it.
They're gonna love it, yeah. Erin's sister and her family have a trampoline, and we were over there not long ago, and the kids just spent hours out on their trampoline, and we thought, you know what? We both had trampoline. No, you didn't. I did. I had a trampoline, but it wasn't until a little bit later in life, and we enjoyed that so much. You're realizing a childhood dream right here, Erin.
I can see us getting like a rain or something and all this gets washed away. And
yeah, flags are a good idea. Yeah, that looks really good. Awesome. Okay, I'm gonna start mapping out the walkway now. And this is probably gonna take me several tries and lots of erasing. Usually does. side, we've got it painted, we've got flags in the ground. I really like how it's looking, and it is a tiny bit different than I initially thought. And that's how it kind of always goes. What are your thoughts, Aaron?
I like it.
Do you
I think
like
it looks
it?
really good.
You like the flow of the whole thing?
Yeah.
Do you want to walk us through?
No.
No?
You should do it.
Okay, so the path from the dream stream right here, this is where we're gonna come off of it. This will be flower bed right here. Of course, there won't be a big berm, a pile of soil right here, but you'll walk this direction. We'll have a little bit of room for either, you know, one thought I had, Aaron, that we could do right here is kind of do more of a flagstone, like bigger opening where we could put a couple of chairs. I don't know. Anyway, that's a possibility, but there's enough room to plant some low growing things around here and kind of soften the whole edge of this fountain. So let's go this direction first because you can go one of two ways. I love this. I love this pathway. How it kind of comes up. We'll be planting all of this up. You can see the stream through here. And then you'll kind of curve right in between these two berms. It just feels like the natural flow right here. Very natural. And there's flower bed on either side here. You can see that flagged painted line. That's where the grass will start. Flower bed, pathway will lead you to the lane so that, you know, if you happen to be walking from this direction, you can enter in here or you can come out here. So flower bed will match. See how that one comes out right there? Flower bed on this side will match that. So we might not be making this quite as severe. This is all just like, not preliminary, but I mean, we can tweak it a little bit here or there. So let's walk this direction. So I'm in the grass right now, or what will be grass. Something that was kind of important to me around this trampoline from about here to, oh, I don't know, about this section, I wanted the same width of grass because I want it to look like we on purpose centered the trampoline. If we had it a little bit too wide on any of this part, I think it would look a little weird. I think it would bother me. So I made sure that it's pretty much the same width from about here over there, and that way it'll look centered. Let's go back to the beginning so we can walk this pathway. Okay, so you can kind of see the direction this one's going. I wanted the curves to feel very gentle. I didn't want it to feel too much like this, and I think my initial idea would have made you feel that way. So we improvised and went with something different. So you'll walk this direction, flower bed on this side, flower bed on this side. We might still cut in and have a little bit, like some few little boulders right in here to make a little retaining wall. And the flower bed gets wider here. Now the flower bed will come to kind of a point here, and then there will be an opening kind of where I've got a line here and a line here. This will be your opening from pathway to grass. So you can come over here to the trampoline, and I'll probably plant something similar on either side so that it looks kind of like it's flanked, a little bit more formal, I guess. And then you'll come this direction. Now all of this right here is going to be flower bed. That out there will be grass. So this pathway will lead you back to the basketball court. And then the flower bed, we did not put flags in the grass because Aaron's still going to need to mow. We have lines just everywhere out here because we thought that we might just bring the pathway out here and then maybe bring the pathway over to the play set, and it just wasn't making any sense. So we decided just to have grass out here. The flower bed will curve around. It's this line right here. It'll curve around and it will come and meet the basketball court. Now we might change that. We might come in and have, you know, a 6-foot flower bed right in here so that we can plant stuff along the fence. If we put that in, we can do that later. But the most important thing for me over here and for Aaron, I think, was that we had flower bed so we could hide all of this stuff right here. And we have plenty of room, like right in here, to put a nice big tree, plenty of room to plant some fluffy stuff around the infrastructure. I think it's gonna be good. Of course, the lines aren't perfect, but you can kind of see it from here too, how the pathway takes you over there.
I think my only hesitation is if we were to put, you know, a chain link fence around here, like a black fence, you know, is it gonna look weird? Can he put a little like opening anywhere, or does it need to be centered between the posts?
Oh,
you know?
Sure. Well, I'm guessing it does need to be in a specific spot. We should probably figure that out. This is malleable though. Like if I need to bring it out and bring it over a little bit, we can. I mean, it might be a problem if I need to bring it more that way because it would be too severe of a curve, but I don't think it would be bad if we had to soften that curve just a little bit.
It's so hard when you're planning
I know.
to know the order of things because, we may never get a fence. Maybe we
Right.
just decide that, it's not worth it. We don't like the look of that. But I think this is a wide enough bed that if we did get a fence, if we plant enough evergreens that kind of were to mask it, it wouldn't be so demonstrative.
Yes. Visible.
Yeah, but so I don't know. I just, it's so hard. It's so hard to know.
Well, I wonder if we could ask our fence guy, like, hey, if we should ever put in a fence, like, how far do you recommend the gate go in?
Yeah.
If you were to put a gate here, where would you put it? And that way we could at least know from a professional.
Yeah.
And we could plan our pathway. Even if it never goes to a gate, at least it could.
Yeah.
And we don't have to fix the pathway.
I mean, like, depending on how the posts were to go, you'd want the posts to be an even, a set number. And so, like, does he need a post that's going to go right here? It's like, well, you can put a door here and a door here, but you can't put one exactly here. And maybe we'd have to move it down the road, move the path.
I would almost like the path to be a little bit more gentle.
Well, I think having more space here, because you're going to want to put
something fluffy,
probably an evergreen of some kind that like flanks both sides.
Yeah, you're right.
That's going to help block this and.
Sure. Yep, that makes sense. Well, maybe we could figure out at least post spacing. I don't know what makes sense. Either way, we've got some potatoes and ranunculus to go plant. So that is going to be the next phase of today's project. And I do have the potatoes in the back of the gator, and we're going to be planting from our own crop from last year that we had left over in the root cellar. So I didn't buy any new potatoes this year. We've got Huckleberry Gold, which look like this. They've already started to sprout. These in here are red Pontiacs, again, started to sprout. And in this one, we've got German Butterballs, which are looking a little shrivelly, but these have also started to sprout a bit. And the difference between this year and what I normally do is that this year I'm planting the whole entire potato. Because we have enough left over in these bins, I think we'll get plenty. If you want to, you can cut potatoes, just so long as you've got 1 or 2 really good eyes per cut. Like take this one, for example. If you wanted to, you could come in because there's a really strong eye here. There's 2 strong ones there. That kind of looks like all for this one, but you could make a cut right through here and cut this potato in half, and then you'd get 2 plants out of it. But the difference is that I would have had to do this earlier because you want to let those cut sides heal over, dry up a little bit before you put them down in the ground so that they don't have a tendency to rot. But I don't want to do that step because I would have to do that today, cut them, and then let them dry and then plant tomorrow. And I just want to get it done. So we're just planting whole potatoes today. Be easy. So I'm going to put our big old pipe away here, and then we can head out to where the onions are planted because that's where both of these crops are going to go. Okay, here we are. There are the onions we planted the other day. Then we're going to start in with our potatoes. When we're done planting those, we'll carry on with our ranunculus, which are in the greenhouse soaking right now. So when I went into the root cellar to get the potatoes this morning, I grabbed the ranunculus corms, I popped them into buckets, each individual variety in the greenhouse, and then covered them with water, and they need to soak for 3 to 4 hours before we pop them in the ground. So that's what they're doing currently, and it's crazy. Those ranunculus corms look dead, like shriveled up, hard nothings when you pull them out of storage. And after you soak them, it's crazy how much better they look. So we'll take a look here once we're done. But the first thing you want to do when you're planting potatoes is to prep your area. And Aaron came out here the other day when we were planting our onions, and he tilled up this row for me, which it's tilled like 8 to 10 inches or so deep. Potatoes just have a much easier time forming up when they're in loose soil, as opposed to, heavy clay, really tough soil. I mean, anything would have a hard time like sizing up in soil that's really hard like that. So if you can turn your soil over with a garden fork, or I like to till if it's in an area like this, that is the best way to prep for them. Now we are going to be adding some land and sea compost to the soil, but I'm going to do it as a top dress when we're done planting. But once your soil is kind of worked up, then you do want to add a starter fertilizer, which I brought right over here, right there, the Biotone starter fertilizer. So let's get that sprinkled in this area. Okay, the nice thing about storing these potatoes is that we store the tags along with them so I don't have to make new ones. Okay, so this is how you plant potatoes. I'm gonna space mine out about every foot. You can go like 8 to 12 inches apart, but we have emitters spaced every 6 inches along our drip tape. So it just works out really well to put them every foot. I'm just gonna put these on the outside. Let's see, in here. Okay, so now because our soil is tilled, all I need to do is pop these potatoes about 4 or so inches deep with the eyes facing up like this. And some people like to plant using the trench method, where you do a trench 4 to 6 inches deep, put your potatoes down, and then you just barely cover over them with soil. So it'll still look like you have a trench. And as you start to see that green growth, go on, then you hill over them more and more and more until they get to soil level. And then some people will even hill them more, even beyond soil level, to where you've got like a nice little mound. And they say that they have an easier time forming more potatoes because they've got more room all the way around them. I haven't noticed that that gives me better yields, so I don't do that. I just bury them 4-ish inches deep, cover them over, call it good. Also keeping in mind that my layer of compost will add a little bit more height. So I'll go 4 inches deep, I'll add about 1 inch of compost, so it'll be about 5 or so inches. But usually I like to lay all my potatoes out first so that I don't mess up my spacing, and then I'll just pop them all down in the soil. It's pretty simple. Okay, we've got all of our red Pontiacs laid out. We just need to get them underneath the soil. It's just always helpful for me to see how far they go, and then we'll start our next variety when we're done. Okay, so we ended right here, bud. See where I marked it with the little clod of dirt on either side? So we know just where to start our ranunculus, but we have quite a bit. Yep, flowers next. All right, you guys, so here are the ranunculus. This one's looking all foamy. That's weird. Huh. But check these out. The difference from when we put these in the water to begin with to now is absolutely crazy. And the other crazy thing at this point, you can see that we've got this little clump right here. This was planted as 1 corm last year, and it's turned into what looks like maybe 5 or 6. Let's see. So you can gently take and separate them. There's one right there. You can see the top of it, the bottom. There's 2. This looks like 2 right here, but they're pretty stuck together. I'm just gonna leave those together. There's 4. Yep, 5, 6, well, technically, there we go, 7, 8. They are an incredibly productive crop every single year for us. So this is the rose variety right here. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna take these out, and just beyond the potatoes, we're going to bury each one of these corms about 2 inches deep, and we're gonna space them out about 6 inches. You can go upwards of like 9 inches, but since our emitters are 6 inches apart, that's what we're gonna do. But I'm gonna sit in here for just a little while because it's so pleasant in here. I'm gonna drain the water out of all these buckets, and I'm going to separate whatever makes sense to separate. and then we'll go from there. Also, real quick, you can pre-sprout ranunculus, which means you do this soaking process and then you line them up in trays, like just planting trays with a little skiff of soil at the bottom, and then you put a tiny bit of soil over the top and you put them somewhere that's like 55-ish degrees, maybe 55, between 50 and 60 degrees, kind of consistently. So I've done it in our basement before. I've done it out here in the greenhouse earlier on in the season, and you leave them in there for, I don't know, 10 to 14 days. And when they're in that consistent warmth, they sprout roots really, really quickly, and they will sprout some green growth even. And you give them just a little bit of a head start versus if you were just to plant them out in the ground. But because we are later in the season, that's if you were going to do it earlier. If you're going to do it earlier, it's way colder outside, so they're not going to get the heat that they need to get going. But because we are warming up out there, I think that they'll grow really quickly. So I'm skipping the pre-sprout process and just popping them straight in the ground. And I think it's going to be a lot less hassle to do it this way. I've tried multiple different things with ranunculus. So I've done the pre-sprout thing and then planting them. I've also done the pre-sprout, then potting them up and growing them into bigger plants. So one year I had potted up bigger plants. I also had some trays of pre-sprouts and I had some regular corms. So I could try succession planting, but I didn't notice a tremendous difference. If you're not doing it to sell the flowers, which we're not, I don't really think that there's a, like, I don't know. There's not much need to do that, but I am planting the ranunculus out with the potatoes and those crops because we will see them, you know, when we drive by. They're right by our lane and right in front of the Persephone garden, but also because you have to leave the foliage up after they're done blooming, like you do on daffodils and tulips. You have to wait until it starts to yellow and die back and they look really crummy. So every year when I was putting them out in the cut flower garden, they'd look glorious for, you know, several weeks, and then they would look super bad for several weeks while they were dying down, but I couldn't pull them until they were fully, you know, charged up. And anyway, so I'm glad that they're going to be where they're at because they can look as crummy as they want out in the dirtlands. Look at these. Aren't these weird?
This is a new variety now. I don't really like those.
They're kind of weird looking, huh?
I think this is one huge clump together. They're pretty big. This one's definitely apart. I actually don't like them.
They weird you out a little bit.
Yeah, I don't really like the down part. Look at these. They look so weird. I want to show them. I'll show them one more time. Look at this camera. Just.
Oh my word. Good job. Whoa. Okay, we can get rid of these. Good job. Okay, here we are. So let me just show you quick how to plant these. Chad is working on leveling out the area on the other side of the fence where we just planted the maples. So anyway, it's gonna be a little noisy, but I'm just gonna lay them out every 6 inches, which is easy because I can just plant one at each emitter hole. And since we're only going 2 inches deep, I just take them and nest them down in, just like that. Super simple. Also, the breeze is moving this powdered dirt around just a little bit too. So anyway, so we're just gonna get all 4 of these buckets planted, and then we're probably gonna turn the water on before we mulch, just so I can make sure everything's running okay, and then we'll add mulch over the top. So planting time next. Good job, bud. We're done. All right, guys. So from this spot right here, all the way to where we ended potatoes, which is right where this little rock is, all of this is ranunculus. My goodness, it's going to be gorgeous, bud. And it's directly in front of the Persephone garden, which will be fun. Okay, we're all done. The water's running. I just thought it might be interesting to show you how much dirt ended up in my gloves and shoes. I already cleaned my gloves out like 3 times. My goodness. Okay. You wanna know something else? My finger from where I was holding the trigger on that paint gun is numb. And it's been numb ever since I did that this morning. It's really weird. Oh, that wasn't nearly as bad as I thought it was gonna be. It felt bad. My feet are filthy. I'm gonna go get in the pond here in a minute. Nice. Oh, feels good to have my feet out of these shoes. Whew. All right, guys, today's project is done. And Aaron did get the water up and running. It took us a minute, but we got it rolling. And I'm just gonna let it run because the soil is so dry for its initial water, and I'm gonna let it run for an hour or 2. But typically we'll run it for like 30 minutes at a time. And frequency will depend on the weather. Like right now we could probably go every couple of days, and then we can go to every other day. And then in the hottest part of the summer, we'll probably be watering once a day because I will have other crops at the end that will likely need it. So again, we've got our red Pontiacs, and you can see our little walking paths between each variety so that you don't have to go all the way around. It's a little bit too wide to jump. I've tried. At least for me, it's a little too wide to jump. So we've got our onions, then our little path, and then our Pontiacs. Another little path, our Huckleberry Golds. And it looks like everything got more narrow. Another little path, the German Butterballs. Little path, and this whole section right here are Ranunculus. There were 5 bags of Ranunculus. One is the rose variety, and then we have La Belle Champagne, and we have salmon. So they're all in the pinks. They're beautiful, beautiful colors. And I've kind of rooted out the ones that I don't really love. And then there were 2 other bags. One of them said Ranunculus salmon, ? And then the other one just said ? Ranunculus ? There wasn't a variety name. So the 2 bags that had question marks, I just put them together in the same bucket. And those are at the very end. And those were some of the more questionable corms of the whole bunch. So I figured, you know, of all the ones to plant at the end, let's do those, because if they come up spotty or if they don't come up at all, I can just plant something else in the space and it won't break up our variety patches. So everything got the biotone starter fertilizer, everything got top dressed with Land and Sea. So for most of these, like the onions, the potatoes, and probably the Ranunculus, I'll come along once, maybe twice with Garden Tone or Flower Tone, depending on what I'm fertilizing, and just side dress the plants. And they tend to do really quite well. And I'm interested to see what these Ranunculus do, being soaked and planted out quite late when I'm used to planting them out a lot earlier. They are a cool season flower, but the one nice thing about our area, we can get just pretty dang hot in the summertime for a really long time, but we do cool down quite a lot at night. Like it got 34 degrees. It actually froze at Bethany's house last night. And the 10-day, it looks like we're in the low 40s, but even in the summertime, when we get 105 during the day, it'll cool down to like low 70s, high 60s in the night. So we'll have like a 30 to 40 degree shift every single day. And I think that's what makes our plants do it. Otherwise, like if it was 105 and it never cooled off, because I know a lot of you guys who live in southern climates where it gets really warm and humid and then it doesn't really give you a break. It just stays that way all the time. I think that would be harder on our plants here. So I'm hopeful that the Ranunculus, because we're still getting so cold at night and it takes all day to get warm, I'm hoping that they'll just take off and grow quick and we'll get flowers quick. We'll see. It's better than leaving them in storage at this point. Anyway, guys, that is it for today's projects, planting potatoes, planting Ranunculus. And then I hope you enjoyed seeing the process we do when we're thinking of a new area and kind of fleshing out the ideas and painting and flagging it off and just really talking through all the different possibilities. Sometimes it can take, well, I mean, you know, if you've been watching our videos for any amount of time, you know that some areas take me years to figure out what I want to do. So I'm really excited to get going on that. Chad has been here. He's actually just took a load away, and anyway, he's going to be around here doing some projects like finishing this up so we can get grass going and then getting a hole dug for that trampoline. And it's just going to be a fun area, I think, to watch come together this year. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching this video, and we will see you in the next one. Bye.